So I read Jokes by Ted Cohen, and he basically explains the philosophical thoughts on joking matter, and he explains the different types of rhetoric when it comes to telling jokes. And so first he explains the different types of jokes, and he breaks this down into two different kinds: short stories with a punchline, or formulaic short stories or formulaic jokes, and those can be broken down into either the ethnicity or the task are constant in the joke. And he gives a lot of examples, like changing a light bulb joke. That is where the task remains constant. So like he uses Jews a lot as an example. So how many Jews does it take to change a light bulb? How many soccer moms does it take to change a light bulb? That's where the task remains the same throughout. And then he goes into the ethnicity, to where the ethnicity of the person stays the same, but the task that they're performing in the joke changes. And then for your audience, you have to presume that the audience has knowledge of the subject and task of the joke. So if your audience doesn't know how to change a light bulb, it's not going to be funny to them, if that makes sense. The next thing he talks about is conditional jokes, and this is where these jokes are made specific for certain audiences. So a lot of comedians, when they go to different cities and towns, they make jokes about that town because the people that are coming to see them at that town know the different like stereotypes, I guess, that you would call them, about that town, and so they would think that those jokes are funny. But someone who's not from there wouldn't really find them as funny because they don't get it. They also have pure jokes, and he says these are universal, but pure jokes aren't a real thing. He says that everything has to be conditional in some way. A hermetic joke is the condition involves knowledge or belief, and the audience doesn't have to believe in these things, they just have to be aware that these belief systems exist. Effective jokes, they depend on the audience's likes and dislikes. So, I mean, if an audience likes a certain celebrity and you make a joke about them, they're not going to laugh because they like that person. Intimacy in this context is a shared sense of those in the community. So everyone feels good because they're all laughing at the same thing. They have a sense of community, and that's their version of intimacy. And then he gets really deep and philosophical right here. I noted, what do we get out of people finding our jokes funny other than a feeling of success? And so he explains that we get really upset when we tell a joke and the other person doesn't laugh at it, but what does it matter if they don't laugh at it or not? Like, it shouldn't matter, but it does to us. Like, we get kind of upset when we're not making them laugh. And he says that really the only thing that we're getting out of making another person laugh is feeling a sense of success for ourselves. And then he says, but a success of what? Like, what does it matter again? And then he says, we want to verify that we understand you, or that you understand me. So if I tell you a joke and you don't think it's funny, then that makes me feel like I don't understand you as well. Like, I don't know what you would think is funny. And so that kind of builds up our sense of intimacy with each other. And then he goes on to say that it reassures our humanity when someone finds the same things funny. So, I mean, if I think something stupid is funny, but somebody else thinks it's funny too, like, that makes me feel better. It makes me tap into that sense of humanity with each other. And then when an audience doesn't share the same background, the joke is considered asymmetrical. So like I said, if you go to a different city or a town and you tell a joke, but the audience doesn't know the background, you don't match the condition. Like, you know what you're talking about, but they don't know what you're talking about, so then it's not funny to them, and then the joke becomes asymmetrical. So, yeah, that was pretty short and sweet, but this is a pretty good book. I honestly didn't read all of it all the way through. I read about half of it, but it's actually pretty interesting, and I'm probably going to read the rest of it when I have a chance. So, yeah.